Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well this Friday afternoon. Thanks for joining us. This is Hillary with America Outdoors, and joining us today is Dan Mann from the Mann Group. And if you joined us for our first webinar last month, then you heard a little bit about the retail side of things, but today we're going to dive into the creating the culture that you want for your staff. Why don't we start out by having everyone type into the chat box your name, where you're from, and if you have any adventures planned for this weekend. And that will give us a good way to practice, asking your questions for later on. While you start typing that in, Dan, I'll have you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're calling from. Glad that you took some time out of your Friday afternoon to join the call. Hillary, I'm certainly excited to be back with you, and really enjoyed last time, and I think we shared some good information that was general in nature about the state of the business world and what's happening in the economy and what's happening in retail. But today, as we get into the challenges we face as outfitters with our staff and with our guides, how to create the ideal customer experience, I'm looking forward to talking about creating that culture of accountability. So I know, Hillary, you may want to just address anyone that has a question throughout this webinar today. Feel free to type that in, and Hillary can direct me even as we're talking. You don't have to wait till the end. Is that the way we're going to move forward?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So I see some are coming in now. Sounds like Eric's going to be skiing this weekend. I'm very jealous in Big Sky. But yeah, so you're kind of getting the hang of it now. Go ahead and type those in. You can just type into the chat box, and I will try to address them as they come. And then we'll also have time at the end, about 10 or 15 minutes, that we can take some additional questions and make sure that we get the most out of the 45 minutes or an hour.
Beautiful. In the interest of getting you caught up, the Mann Group is a group of passionate consultants living in Asheville, North Carolina. We work across a wide variety of industries, primarily focused on the customer experience, which is our area of passion and expertise. So may have run across many of you in some trade shows or expos that we attend, but largely we're based in our clients are really around the world, but U.S. and Canada, and we're looking forward to talking with you today about the culture of accountability in your business. So with your permission, Hillary, I'll get started.
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. Thanks for being here, everyone.
So we got a nice group on the call, and thanks for taking some time out of your Friday to do this work with us. So we talk about the culture of accountability. As an outfitter running a business, you're providing this great customer experience. People travel to your business and want to have these memorable experiences and have something really wonderful to share with their families and friends. And as we saw in our last webinar, this kind of business opportunity is going to only grow in the coming years as millennials and as a number of other important market categories seek and crave experience and adventure. And that puts you in a tremendous opportunity. So while you as the owner or manager are creating and mentally picturing this great experience that you're offering your guests, there happens to be a pretty significant and potentially strong obstacle to your success. And that obstacle happens to be your team. So the guides and your staff and your employees that work in your business are either going to be delivering this great experience, or they are the obstacle to this experience. And there cannot be any understatement or overstatement of how important the guide and staff member contribution is to your guest experience. And that's why we can't leave this to chance. We absolutely must create this experience with our team. And so when we talk about creating this culture of accountability, certainly rules and regulations and process and procedure are important. But more than that, it's creating an environment among your team members where they take ownership and responsibility for this great guest experience. And so you can't leave this to chance. Many times as owners and managers, we say, well, I've hired a bunch of adults. They should know better. I've hired these people who have been in this business. They should know what to do. Why do I have to tell them what to do? Why do I have to explain what I want? And I must unfortunately advise you that in the nature of the world we live in, if you employ team members, it is incumbent upon you to not only set the experience and define what you want the experience to be for your customers and for your guests, you must actually follow up and you must continue to provide expectation. Now, in the years of doing this, I've worked in this business of hiring and developing staff for several decades now. And I've come to understand that there are basically two primary mindsets that exist among your employees. And these mindsets, it's very important you understand. You started this business out of a passion for experience. You had no idea you had to become a counselor / babysitter. But we find ourselves spending more time in psychology than maybe we were comfortable with. But when we're trying to direct employee behavior and create a culture of accountability, we do find ourselves being more and more concerned with how people are motivated and what causes people to do the things that they do. So here's a graph that just shows you what is a typical mindset. And a mindset is just how your team looks at the world. And here's the way it works. On the upper left there, you have an employee's thoughts. This is what they think. And those thoughts then become actions. Those actions turn and create results. The results become beliefs, and beliefs then become the thoughts. This cycle can be a vicious cycle where people develop a mindset, and that mindset actually works for you or against you. And when it comes to this accountability mindset, we must address this within the understanding of how people come to the decisions they do. Let's say, for example, that you have a team member who believes that they're underpaid and overworked, and that they really don't, they're really not being treated fairly. Okay, that's their thought. Well, if my thought is I'm underpaid and overworked, then my actions are going to reflect that. I'm going to slink into work. I'm going to complain about my job. I'm not going to do any more than is called for since I'm already underpaid. And those are my actions. Now, what results would that employee bring about? Well, the guests are going to complain. The experience will not be good. People will write bad reviews. People will complain to the ownership. Then those results then translate into not getting a raise, not getting an opportunity, not getting any new experiences. Hey, my beliefs are confirmed. I'm underpaid. I'm overworked. These people don't appreciate me. Those are my thoughts, and the mindset continues around. So we must consider employee belief and mindset when we think about how to create this belief and mindset about accountability. Let's take the opposite mindset. The thoughts are, I like the company I work for. I'm treated fairly. There's opportunity here. They pay me well, and I enjoy my job. These are my thoughts. My actions become, I give a little more. I come in a little earlier. I work a little harder. I've got a big smile on my face. I'm passionate and enthused. The results are guests are thrilled with my experience. Guests comment about how great of a job I did. The owner comes back to me and says, well done, good job. Here's a raise. Here's opportunity. My beliefs are confirmed. This is a great place to work. I'm treated well. I'm treated fairly. These are my thoughts, and the mindset of accountability and the mindset of positivity continue. So we can't overlook the importance of the employee mindset. Now, here's where I'm headed with this. I believe that in most of our businesses, we have two different types of mindsets that exist among our staff. The first of those mindsets is the protective mindset. And the protective mindset is the employee that works for you, the guide or the employee that works for you who believes they're going to do just enough to keep their job. They are protecting their job. Now, I want to be sure I differentiate. The protective mindset is different from a bad employee. A bad employee is breaking the rules and you see what they're doing and you get rid of them quickly because they're just a bad employee. I'm talking about a person who's working for you with a protective mindset. That is, they're going to do just enough to keep their job. That is, they hide from the real work. They're going to try to keep you happy, but when the cat's away, the mice will play. Therefore, with the protective mindset, looks can be deceiving. These folks have no interest in improving, no desire to learn, and as much as they can, they fly under the radar. Because as long as they fly under the radar, they're keeping their job. So they've protected their job. They're not getting fired, but they're not going to do any more than what you ask them to do. As long as you're there, they do fine. Now, this is the employee who you asked to come in at 10 a.m. to prepare for work, and one day they come in at 10:05. At 10:05, no one says anything. So tomorrow, when does the protective mindset come in? Come in at 10 after 10. Nobody says anything. What's going to happen the next day? They're going to come in at 10:15, and they're going to not be prepared for work. They're bringing in breakfast, or they're bringing in something that further prevents them from engaging with the job. Now you grab the protective mindset employee and say, hey man, you can't do that. You got to be here at work at 10. So what does the protective mindset do? On Thursday, they come in at 10. As long as you direct them, as long as you correct them, they'll do just enough to protect their job. So for that reason, we tend to tolerate this behavior, and we tend to believe that they're okay. And I'll bet you're thinking about your staff right now, and you're thinking, I've got a guy like this. He's good. When I'm there, he's great. She's fantastic. As long as I'm there, as long as I keep my eye on her, she does a great job. But then that you find that the behavior slips, you find that the performance slips, and you've got to go in and have another conversation about the same thing. And the net result is you are continuing to have to monitor their behavior. So the protective mindset, when you've got that employee on your team, you have to have constant follow-up. You're having to have rewards and punishments. You double check on them. You have to have everything written down. You have to have everything signed off on. And unfortunately for the protective mindset, this is very heavy management for you. It requires that you can't take your eye off the ball. You got to keep your eye on these folks, because when the cat's away, the mice will play. Now, I just wonder, as you think about this, what percentage of your staff do you believe has this protective mindset? Now, this may be bringing some questions in your mind. I'm going to get to those questions as you think about how do you manage this person, because frankly, most of us probably have protective mindset folks on our team. But this protective mindset hurts your culture of accountability, because the protective mindset doesn't take accountability. The protective mindset waits for you to tell them what to do, and they do that because you told them, but no more and no less, just enough. So this mindset's very dangerous and requires a lot of heavy lifting on our part when it comes to management. The other type of mindset, and the mindset that really is what we want on our, on our team and in our outfitter business, is the achievement mindset. The achievement mindset. Now, this is a person who sets goals and achieves goals. Their life is driven by the passion for setting goals and achieving goals. No one has to get them to work on time. No one has to tell them what they're supposed to do. They have set their own goals, and they thrive by achieving in those goals. These people, the achiever, they want to be part of something worthwhile. They want to contribute. And guess what the achiever wants to do? They want to learn. Now, it looks like there's 20-some people on this call today, on this webinar. Everybody on this call is an achiever. You made the choice to get on this webinar and learn. And even though you may have been in business 25, 30, 40 years, you're still here with a pen in your hand, and you're writing things down, and you're wanting to learn. Why? That's what achievers do. The achiever mindset, the entrepreneur mindset, we want to learn. We crave new information, and we want to get better. So the achievement mindset is the person who is individually motivated to get results. As a result, the achievement mindset loves accountability. The achievement mindset wants to be measured, evaluated. The achievement mindset wants to know what's the goal. Why? Because they want to achieve that goal. So when we think about creating this culture of accountability, we have to address first and foremost, it is in quality hiring and quality selection of people that you build a team of achievers, because achievers want to learn, achievers want to get better. Now, how do you go about managing the achiever? Well, the achievement mindset is a person who sets their goals and goes and achieves them. Achievers are hurt by obstacles. When achievers can't achieve and there are obstacles to their work, they actually become demotivated. Now probably everybody in this webinar today, you've probably quit a job at some point in your life. Now think about why you quit that job. You probably quit that job because you felt you could do it better elsewhere. You probably quit that job because of one of these obstacles you see on your screen: leadership inconsistency, needless tradition, short-sighted goals, or ineffective goals. After all, what do achievement mindset people want? They want great goals. Being under-challenged hurts the achievement mindset. And look at these next two. For the achiever wants recognition and training. The achiever wants to hit a goal and they want someone to see that goal. The achievement mindset wants to know what the goal is. The achievement mindset wants to be recognized for achieving that goal. Therefore, they want to be measured, evaluated, and they want conversation around that. Another obstacle that prevents achievers from doing what they want to do is having no progress, no opportunity. And the bottom line here, the last achievement obstacle is the biggest obstacle for an achiever, is a weak manager who tolerates the protective mindset. So here we go back to the protective mindset we talked about a moment ago. Remember the employee who is coming in at 10:05 and 10:10 and 10:15 when they're supposed to be in at 10, and the manager who tolerates that. See, what's happening when that's happening, the protective mindset's coming in consistently later and later. The achiever is there early. The achiever is asking the boss, "What can I do? How do I get the business ready to go today? What can I do? What extra can I do? What needs to be done?" I'm in early. They're working hard. They're contributing, and they see that their manager or owner tolerates this 10:05, 10:10, and 10:15 behavior. That is demoralizing to the achiever. That actually causes the achiever. In fact, statistically, we know that people don't usually quit a job over pay. They quit a job over their manager. People don't quit a job, they quit their manager. And this is exactly why people quit that manager. Achievers leave the business where they can't see opportunity. And so it's incumbent upon you as the owner or manager of your business to create structure that really favors the achievement mindset. The achievement mindset is going to be folks that line up for accountability. Achievers love accountability because achievers like to achieve. So if you've hired a staff full of protective mindset people, then you know what your life is like. You're having to provide all kinds of rewards and punishments and follow up and stay on top of things and can't trust. And the first and easiest way to create the environment of accountability is to hire people that love to be measured and evaluated. Now, I've done some research on this, and I think the leading expert on this is Dr. Jerry Bell, University of North Carolina. He is the country's leading expert on selection and hiring. And Dr. Bell says, in his opinion, in the United States today, only 8 to 12% of the population have this achievement mindset. I don't know how you react to that. Maybe you think, well, that sounds a little low. Or if you've been in this business long enough, you may say that sounds a little high. 8 to 12%. So here's what I know. If you hired 15 people last year and you interviewed only 15 people last year, odds are you didn't hit those numbers and you're working with a high percentage of protective mindset. All that means is that your work is more difficult than it has to be because you're having to do this double work of management, of following up and supervising this. Now, here's what I know. I know that no matter what your environment, you have the achievement mindset on your team, and you probably also have the protective mindset on your team. The way to manage your way through this is to actually favor the achievement mindset. It's actually to create an environment where you exert gentle pressure, relentlessly applied. Constant gentle pressure in which you set expectations and follow up. Setting expectations and follow up actually truly serves both the achievement mindset and the protective mindset. The achievement mindset love it because they want to know what the goals are. They want to know those goals. They want to be sure they're inspired by those goals, and they love achieving goals. The protective mindset needs you to have that gentle pressure so that they aren't able to escape. They're not able to hide. That they understand the rules, they understand the expectations, and as long as you are providing that, then they will actually do the work. Ultimately, if you've got a staff of say 15 people and 11 of them have this achievement mindset and 4 have the protective mindset, over time it is possible for you to greatly influence those 4 protective mindset to either say, hey, we don't like it here. There's all this pressure on us to perform and create these results, and they go away because they won't live in that environment. Or occasionally, you do see the protective mindset actually have a paradigm shift and join the team and actually become really a strong achiever. And ultimately, that's what we're looking to create. So, what does this mean for you? This means for you to have this culture of accountability, you must create a causal management style. Now, when you first saw this slide, you may have thought I misspelled the word casual. So that is no misspelling. I don't mean to say the word casual. I do mean to say the word causal. And it should be pretty obvious what the root word here is. Management that causes the results that management wants. The management style that we most often, however, see is on the right there, hope management. And hope management sounds like you would hope that people would see me taking the trash out. And I hope that by leading by example, people will eventually, quote, get it. I would hope that people would know what time they're supposed to be here. I mean, they are, after all, adults. You would hope that people would know what this ideal customer guest experience is. You would hope you wouldn't have to, I mean, I hope you're getting sick of hearing this. Because if you've been saying these things and talking this way, you have a hope management style. If your break room is filled with post-it notes of rules telling people what they're supposed to do at all times, and you are frustrated by the fact that you are not getting the results, then you have hope management. You are hoping that by leading by example, people can see what you want and get it. And that's not going to work. So sending out a memo, sending out an email, putting up signs is not the way. Causal management means that you set expectations in direct communication, clearly and succinctly describing what you want, providing the resources, providing the training, providing the incentive, and providing the reward for what you want to have happen. If you hope people know what the guest experience is, but you've provided none of those things, the resources, the training, the incentive, the reward, the opportunity, then you're probably not getting what you want. The causal environment, a culture of accountability, happens when the manager or the owner understands exactly what you want delivered for your guests. You've provided the training. You've provided the resources. You have spoken one-on-one with each team member. You have gotten agreement from that team member that they also understand what that experience is. They've been given the way to measure that result. They have been given the resources they need to achieve that result. They have been given the training that they need. And then you follow up. And that follow-up should look like a high five. That follow-up should look like a congratulations. That follow-up should look like reward. Good job. Congratulations. Well done. But sometimes that's not what happens. Sometimes the follow-up is to come back and say, here are the results we've seen. Here is the measurement that we see. And this is not what we want. And so you provide that follow-up. Now, this is certainly a systematic approach to management that you have to create. The hope management style is going to fail. The hope management style favors the protective mindset. Protective mindset love hope management because then you're not doing anything about their underperformance. You're not doing anything about the fact that they're not providing you with the results you want. You just hope that it'll get better. And of course, it never does. So the culture of accountability is causal management, which really favors the achiever. The achiever wants training. The achiever wants clear goals. The achiever wants to be measured. The achiever wants to be rewarded because achievers love achieving goals. So that's why causal management is going to attract the right team. Causal management is going to deliver this memorable guest experience, and it's the only choice. So I wish there were some magic dust I could sprinkle on this for everyone, Hillary, but there's no magic dust. This is hard work, and it requires a paradigm shift at the manager level to systematically change these behaviors. So listen, this is a great introduction, but there's certainly lots of specific ways to apply this to all the folks on the call here today. So I'd like to open this up for questions, and if you'll type in your questions, Hillary can deliver those to me, and we can continue this conversation. So turn it over to you.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, if everyone could kind of type in any questions they have, or you can also type in any frustrations that you've had with your staff management from 2018 that you'd like to share that maybe we could tackle as a group as to some solutions.
I will say that in our Man University course, this is a big topic for us because ultimately this comes down to conversations. This comes down to having those challenging and difficult conversations that require that we address performance, redress underperformance one-on-one. That's what causal management eventually looks like, rather than sending out memos or emails and trying to get results that way, which is proven to be not effective.
All right, here's a question that came in from Michael. How do you apply causal management to your subordinates when your superiors practice hope management?
Ooh, I'm only laughing because that's a familiar theme, and I appreciate you sharing that. And it sounds like perhaps you're in a management role and not the ownership role. And if that's the case, first and foremost, I think that in this day and age, in any role, causal management is going to serve you well, regardless of what other environment you're in. So, an achiever takes responsibility. So let me just offer a challenge to you, Mike, that culture of accountability can be created by you and your team. You can create that by good hiring practices. You can create that with the discipline with which you manage your team. Hopefully, and most likely, the ownership group can see that and respond accordingly. But let me say, I would start this, and before we really kick into the season, depending on the seasonality of your business, I'd have that conversation one-on-one with your ownership. I would start with your supervisor and talk about the way you want to lead and manage your team. I would reference this language, and I would see if you can get the two of you on the same page. Because if you're managing with one management style, and your leadership or superiors are managing with a second and conflicting management style, I would call that managing in a crosswind. And it's like landing a plane in a crosswind, where you're fighting against forces that you may not be able to be successful in. So I think it starts with a direct conversation with your supervisor over a management and leadership style. Let's don't leave it to chance. Let's address it point blank, and see if the two of you can get on the same page for the coming season.
Thanks, Dan. Here's another question from Chris. Do you have any outlines of a system or a checklist of things to do to develop a causal management culture?
I do, as a matter of fact, and I could actually pull that from our manual and send that over to you. So if you want to send Hillary an email with your email address, I'll send that over to you in written form. But let me just answer the question. Since we're vocal here today, number one, the checklist is number one. Is the job that you're looking for, has it been clearly defined? Is the job itself clearly defined? So the outcomes and the approach have been agreed upon. Secondly, is that documented in a process? So is the job itself defined? Is it documented in a specific process? Next up, are the resources being provided so that the employee can actually conduct this process? Are the resources there? Next, is the training been provided? Is the training provided for that employee to conduct this job and this process? Fifth, are there measurements in place so that we can know that the task has been completed or the role has been completed through some measurement. And then finally, is there some sort of incentive or reward for the employee to be able to complete the task? If those 6 things are addressed, I think you've got a nice head start on causal management. The only missing ingredient is that the manager must follow up on each of those 6 things. The manager must be involved in causing those things to happen, not hoping those things to happen. So if you're saying, well, these people won't do it, they don't get it, they're not doing what I said, I don't know what to do. Ask yourself those 6 questions. Is the process clearly, is the job clearly defined? Is there a process? Is there resources? Is there training? Is there measurement? And is there reward? Reward. Again, I can send that to you in a list if you want to send an email to Hillary, and you can forward that to me, and I'll be happy to send that to you.
Perfect. And we've got another question here from Kelsey. How do you apply this to a seasonal business with many returning employees who are used to the hope management style in the past? So what does the transition look like?
Yeah, that's also a great question, where you've established a track record of this is how we've always worked. And so yeah, this transition is not going to be easy. However, it's a transition, but it's more of a paradigm shift. It's a moment, it's a switch, it's a right now. And so I would start with my very first round of meetings and trainings for the new season. As the guides come in, your outfitter warms up and begins to get into the season. You're going to have some pre-training and some establishment of the new processes and new guides for this year. I would begin by communicating that in written form to everyone, and then I would host a meeting with the entire group to talk about the change and the approach and the specifics. And then, and this may sound like a lot of work, but hey, this will save you time, work and time in the long run. I would go one-on-one through each member of that team and make sure I've got agreement and an understanding of these changes. So intentionality here. Let's go back a slide. Gentle pressure, relentlessly applied. So that pressure looks like a new process. Relentlessly applied looks like follow-up. And so if you can do the hard work up front of setting the new expectation and the hard work of following up with consistency and gentle pressure, you can really thrill your achievement mindset people and cause your protective mindset people to sit up and take notice. And I think that's the pathway forward.
Great. Those are all the questions that I have seen. If anyone else has any that they want to shoot through real quick, go ahead and do so.
Well, listen, be sure to reach out to me if you would like some of this information in print. And I know it's not easy. Again, like I said, Hillary, I wish there was some magic dust I could sprinkle on a culture of accountability. A culture is comes from it's a science or a biology term in which all of the ingredients, all the environment works together for one outcome. And so this is going to require discipline on your part, the manager or owner, to create this culture. But I think I've broken it down into the mindsets and the temperament that result in a culture of inaccountability or non-accountability. And by being very intentional and by following really simple six really key strategies for causal management, it can get you the results you want.
Great. Well, thank you, Dan, so much. We really appreciate you being here today, and thank you to everyone who attended. We do have some other webinars coming up, so I'm just going to remind you of those. We have one more webinar with Dan of the Man Group, April 11th, which is called Leading Change and Team Building. So this is, taking it one step further with creating your culture. And then we will have a search engine optimization demystified with Peter Ross of 829 Studios on April 24th. Both of those are at 1 p.m. And we will also have a Women of AO Virtual Connect Thursday, April 4th at 1 p.m. So if you were at the conference and you were in the women's meeting, you know that we had a really good conversation. We're going to continue those conversations and even be a bit more productive. But if you weren't there, you're welcome to join as well. All are welcome. So those are the things we've got on the horizon. Make sure you check into the America Outdoors website event page. I am updating all the webinars there so you can see what's coming up, what's on the horizon, and also make sure to check your email because I will send all this out to you and send you reminders so you don't miss anything. All right, all have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, follow-up things, just send me an email and I will make sure to get with Dan and get you the resources you need.
Thanks a lot, Hillary. Appreciate it, everybody. Have a great weekend.